What's going on? I am Nando.
And I'm DJ.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woohoo! This week, a movie without superheroes or people with the ability to kind of be superheroes based on genetic augmentation, but not really superheroes.
Or a cinematic universe to speak of.
Yep. No, well, that I don't think is true at all. I think the...
Oh, you think the Tarantino cinematic universe?
I think this movie definitely, not necessarily confirms it, but continues to read into that. I was going to say a movie that isn't based off of a cartoon and then isn't worse than that. It's a completely different movie. This week we're looking at Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Just kidding, north of Mexico. Actually, the way you're supposed to read it is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because there's like an ellipsis in the title for some damn reason. I don't understand that. Have you noticed that, right, DJ? Like on the posters.
I actually didn't.
Yeah, so like even I wonder if IMDb has it. Yeah, so actually I read it wrong. It's Once Upon a Time ... in Hollywood. So yeah.
Okay.
So it's not on the posters, but it is like the official. Yeah, I don't know. So we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a new movie that we all love. That is a really interesting thing and is completely different from everything else we've done. So this will be a real test to see how ride or die you guys are. If you're just here for the Spider-Man, or if you're here for everything else.
We did get some good nitpicks on the Twitter. I don't know if you saw, Nando.
I have not. I have to like re-sign into the Twitter. Actually, you know what? I've seen them. Let me open it up because we will get into those. And then we'll talk about other stuff with your Rex. I don't know.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, the usual show bits. DJ, how's your week been before we get into that?
Had a pretty good weekend. I went to an Iron Maiden concert. It was a lot of fun at the Barclays Center.
Like the machine that keeps people's lungs going, or the band?
So that's an iron lung. An Iron Maiden is the
you're
coffin
right.
with spikes.
Device. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, the band.
Nice.
They're really good. Very much enjoyed that. Something in there might be related to one of my recs, but we'll wait for that. So pretty good weekend. How about you? How was your weekend?
It was good. I did things. One would assume.
Good. Doing things.
Yeah,
is good.
I'm trying to remember what I did things. I was oh god, I did something fun.
You did. I bet you
You'd
did.
think so, right? I don't know. I watched a movie that's a fun movie to prepare for next week. That was a fun thing I did this past weekend. But yeah, I watched some new television. A lot of stuff we're gonna wreck. I did a lot of cleaning. But that's about it.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah, no, that was great. I mean, listen, that needed to happen. Before we get to that, I really, really, really quickly, not before we get to me talking about my cleaning, which is important. I really, really, really quickly want to talk about something. It's like a holdover from previous podcast segments we've done called After the Thrones, where we talk very, very super briefly about Game of Thrones. I really want to get this out now because it's killing me. So, as people know, and this won't spoil very much. I mean, listen, if you're spoiled, you're spoiled, but I don't think anybody really wants to know. And I don't think there's that many people on the internet that really want to know that haven't figured it out yet. Just like what happens at the end. But so the Game of Thrones finale, we were not fans.
No,
we were
not at all.
We were in the super duper majority of people that thought it wasn't great, and it's over, right? Like, there's nothing left, except they released the script for the episode that they plan to nominate, or that is nominated for best writing in a TV show or whatever. And I wanted to read you a passage, DJ. This just proves how crazy this is. And it's not super crazy, but it is a very strange, like it teaches you a weird thing about the show. This is from the last episode of Game of Thrones. DJ, you ready for this?
I am ready.
I don't even care if you don't want to be spoiled, you can skip ahead like a minute and it'll be gone. But so here's 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is right out of the script. Drogon wants to burn the world, but he will not kill Jon. He breathes fire on the back wall, blasting down what remains of the great red blocks of stone. We look over Jon's shoulder as the fire sweeps towards the throne. Not the target of Drogon's wrath, just a dumb bystander caught up in the conflagration. We look through the blades of the throne as the flames engulf it and blast the wall behind it. So what we learned was that Drogon didn't destroy the throne on purpose, or for any good reason, it just kind of was there. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, isn't that something?
I found that really surprising because based on what everything else we were reading, this really seemed like a heavy-handed metaphor of like, it seems like that would read, Drogon burned down the throne, the symbol of all the things that made his mommy bad. And instead it might as well have been a pinball machine. If there was a pinball machine in the room, it would have just been that. Drogon burned down the pile of mail that Danny doesn't read because it's mostly bills. A dumb bystander in the whole thing. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, do you think this will calm down the Game of Thrones like fanatics or no? They're just going to be like, you guys are such hate. Although I don't know who's defending Game of Thrones at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know that either. Well, I also think this is where people that really like Game of Thrones read into that a lot as like, nah, man, they definitely meant something by that. Right, like it was like that was intentionally and like smart that she was destroying that Drogon destroyed the throne when really that's not it. It was a mistake or accidental thing.
Drogon doesn't understand metaphor, and we talked about this on the last episode of After the Throne. But like, really, the dragon understands metaphor. Just shut up! Like, there's no way.
Yeah, no, nothing. But great stuff. So let's talk about the opposite of Game of Thrones. A show about how is this the opposite of Game of Thrones, CJ? They're driving cars instead of dragons.
Yep,
it's good instead of bad.
No naked women or men. No naked people.
That's true.
So that's a big difference.
It's set in 1960s or 70s Hollywood instead of Westeros.
This movie has no strong women to speak of.
No. Although, to be fair, does Game of Thrones? Like, we just read some script that kind of would prove that it has. Yeah, I guess that's true. This one does also not have... Does it have swords? No swords?
No swords.
Although, to be fair, you know what? There's a couple things that kind of feel Game of Thronesy, which we'll get to. We're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep.
Yeah. Hold for applause. We're not going to spoil it. We'll talk regularly, non-spoilers, and then we'll go into spoilers.
Although, what are the spoilers? I don't even know where the line is.
I think there's one big old spoiler, and then the rest of it is not spoilers. But yeah, so DJ, what do you think... Without spoiling or anything, what'd you think of this movie?
So, oh boy. I liked it. My initial coming out of the movie, I liked it a lot and I liked what it did. After I read more into the confusing parts of the movie that I didn't understand, believe it or not, Nando, I liked the movie a little less.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I felt kind of dumb and I don't know. There's just something about it that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
People asked us this a lot, or they asked me this on like the Twitch stream I did. Where do you rank the Tarantino movies? What do you like from a Tarantino movie? What don't you like? Because this is Tarantino's second movie, I want to say. No, it's like his 9th or 10th movie, depending on how you feel about something.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Death Proof count, or there's something that doesn't count.
Right.
But, I mean, maybe it's his 7th or 8th. I don't know. But, yeah. What do you think of it? Him
so,
as
like,
a director?
his movies? Okay. So,
yeah.
I love his movies. Let me be very clear. And I really like this movie. I thought it did a lot of stuff really well. My favorite's Pulp Fiction. I love that movie so much. Probably a bit unreasonably, if I'm being honest. There's just something about that movie that I really like. The characters, the plot. I think a lot of parts are funny. I really, really like Pulp Fiction. Then, like Inglourious Basterds, Django. See, I really like when he does his actiony bits because I think he does it really well. I know he's been kind of, I don't know if the word's criticized, but it's been pointed out that he kind of fetishizes violence and stuff with guns, which, you know, should we really be having that? Blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't blah, blah, blah that away, but, you know, definitely a thing. So yeah, I think he does very good jobs, and he does it in this movie too, of like weaving a narrative together into something that's cohesive and interesting. And I think he gets really good performances out of actors. I don't know how much that's him or just like him putting good actors in his movie, but I think he does a really good job of it. So
it definitely feels like he gets good performances out of actors
consistently.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't. It's not necessarily. He definitely just doesn't work with bad actors, right? I think you've got a pretty safe bet that the actors on a Tarantino movie are just going to be good. So it's not not like you're not worried about it, but it is pretty, like, it's a pretty safe bet that he's not gonna, like, he hasn't done a movie with, not to say he's a bad actor, but like Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So he's worked with actors that aren't the greatest actors ever, but he does seem to have a taste for like talent.
And I think he understands it, and I think he knows how to use, talent that he gets.
Yeah, I think that's right. And yeah, it's interesting too, because like he's worked with Brad Pitt before, but I don't think he's ever worked with DiCaprio, right?
Django.
Oh yeah, no, never mind. My favorite one. I forget. See, Django is good, but all my favorite parts. Well, no, I like him a lot. I don't know. Wait, no, sorry, that's not my favorite one.
What
my
is your
favorite
favorite
one?
one?
So I think I have a tie at 1 between Reservoir Dogs and Bastards. I think those two are my favorites. I think Reservoir Dogs is the best in terms of being like a really tight, well-focused, like interesting script and like just, a lot of the small things about the way it's filmed and I think it just does a lot of Tarantino things well. On the other hand, I think Inglourious Bastards is the best he can do with like a big crazy scope of like we're gonna tell this story and we're gonna these guys are gonna be on a revenge whole thing, and then we have this character who just sits down calmly and talk. It's very I think it does a good job of kind of managing what he's good at. We're in a way that we're with Reservoir Dogs, that's all packaged into one movie, whereas with this he kind of separates some of those things. Where I guess there is ultra violence, but I don't know. It seems different enough. Django I enjoy, but I've just never had the urge to go back and watch Django. But that's probably in number 2. It's like those first two are tied for 2: Reservoir Dogs and Bastards. I'd say Pulp Fiction. You know what? I'd say Pulp Fiction. I think that's what I said on the stream. Pulp Fiction, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then Kill Bill 1 are in the second tier, which is really good, but not quite there. And then Django and Kill Bill 2 are tier 3. And then the only other two are Hateful Eight and Jackie Brown, which I've never seen. And Death Proof I really am not a huge fan of, so I'll put that under. That can be like tier 4.
Okay.
Not forgetting any of them, right? Babe Pig in the City. That's right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish he should make a. I mean, I'd love for him to make a movie in a franchise, but just like ignore it, kind of. Like, be like, I'm making a Babe movie, whatever. Or like, because they keep saying he wants to make a Star Trek movie, and like he doesn't. But
no, why would he? There's no reason.
And they'd never let him make the Star Trek movie he wants to make, so it's definitely not worth the time. But I would love it if he tried. It'd be terrific. But yeah, so I think he's an interesting director.
He manages to do that thing too, where he can kind of like say whatever he wants, and like people let him get away with it.
To an extent.
Well, yes, to an extent.
Everything but this one word he loves to say. Besides that, he can pretty much say whatever he wants. And even that, I mean, he more or less gets away with, his racial sensitivities. I'm not sure exactly why he does, but, whatever. I mean, you know what? A lot of the times he doesn't try to explain himself, which I think is part of it, right? And he kind of seems not like he's dismissive of questions that I think another director would answer really poorly. So, like, there was that one time where he was in that interview, and I forget what it is. A woman is interviewing him on, like, some sort of public access network or something. And she's like, why do you like violence so much? It's bad. You shouldn't do violence. Or like, do you think it's affecting the children? And he's like, it's a movie. And she's like, why do you have to be so violent in your movies? And he's like, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Come on, Janice, it's fun. Like, I think he definitely takes what he does seriously, and he's a serious person.
Well, he's good at it.
And that too, yeah. If he made a bad movie, it would be really easy to be like, wow, he's not only has he passed his like prime, he's also very vulnerable to more criticism.
Well, and like, don't we let you, if you're good at a thing, like, God, look at like some football players and athletes and stuff like that. Like, if you're good at what you do, we let you get away with weird shit. And it's because like those are the eccentric people, and sometimes the eccentric people have things that go with them that are a bit off the ball, and I don't know.
Yeah, he's an artist and he's crossing a line. Like he definitely isn't doing like, he isn't making movies about difficult racial topics without realizing that. I just do think he also has this extra layer of protection that comes from his personality that kind of protects him from not like scrutiny, because he's definitely pretty highly scrutinized. But anyway, yeah, and he's hyper violent. Obviously, it's like his other stylistic thing. And he loves Hollywood and film and
he really
the
does.
silver
he loves it
screen so much that it's in his movies about Nazis and his movie, like whatever the movie is. He tries as hard as he can to either have characters sit down and talk about a movie or have just a movie on screen for a while. And that's why this is definitely like, you know, premium, pure, uncut, top shelf Tarantino, except it feels completely different from all of the rest of Tarantino because it's not about a bunch of murderers. Which is interesting.
But it is, though.
But it is.
Like, it's weird. I don't want to get... Anyway.
Well, even at the base level, it's about a guy on a show who's a murderer.
Sure.
Right? It's about like a character, Rick Dalton, who is on cowboy shows like Bounty Law and whatever.
And like even the premise of this movie, right, is that here's how much he loves movies or violence, I guess, whatever. He's glorifying a time where like Westerns were the shit. And like, oh, we're in Westerns cool because they were just about dudes shooting each other up, and isn't that awesome? Which like is fine. Like that's sure, whatever.
It was the time. Like it would be one thing if this, I don't know. But it is very reminiscent of an actual time in history when people were actually watching movies and doing things like that. So I also think because his movies are traditionally not traditionally, but a lot of them have been, you can kind of get away with going like, well, yeah, I mean, everybody's shooting each other, but also that's just what was on TV at the time. Like, and you could maybe say he's a product of all these cowboy shows, but you know, it's true to the medium in a sense. The same way like Kill Bill is true to some like martial arts revenge movies, although I think it's still a little heavy-handed and blood-filled for contending to what else is out there on the market.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So the story of this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it's an interesting one because it's not necessarily like all over the place, but I think a lot of the other ones are pretty easy sells in terms of like, these are a group of American soldiers who try to kill Hitler. And then also there's other stuff going on. That's like, you know, tangentially to that. I'm interested to see what the IMDb description for this is. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A faded television actor and his stunt double strive to achieve fame and success in the film industry during the final years of Hollywood's golden age in 1969 Los Angeles. That's pretty close. Like, I'd say that's about it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good for them. Finally, one of these that's accurate.
They nailed it.
Like, I mean, and next week it's going to be, I don't even know what Hobbs and Shaw's description is going to be, but it's probably going to be way off. Hobbs is a devil clown from hell, and Shaw is a turtle. Watch them try to skip rope together. It's like, oh no, you guys, you got so far. So this movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt mostly. Margot Robbie is also in the posters, and then a bunch of other actors are smattered throughout the film.
All that smattering. You got to get that smattering then.
There's so much smattering. Who's your favorite? You like Brad Pitt or you like Leo? Ooh. You like Rick Dalton or you like Cliff Booth?
It's so hard because I love them both. Must I pick one?
You must.
Shit.
It would be rude if you didn't take one, because I'm sure at least one of them is listening.
I'm going to go with Brad Pitt. I just like I don't know. There's something about Brad Pitt's character I really like. Is it that I like the bad boys? I don't know, maybe.
Bad boys. I mean, he's a pretty bad boy. In the movie, he may or may not have murdered his wife. But
dude, like when he beats the shit out of the hippie, that's like heroin for me. I'm like, oh my God, I love nothing more than this.
And he's just like, Brad Pitt is the coolest guy in this movie. Besides that wife beating thing, he is, and see, it's interesting. There's two scenes that make Brad Pitt look like kind of an asshole, maybe, and it's this one where he may have murdered his wife, and then the one where he fights Bruce Lee, which is in all the trailers, and those are both his memories or other people's memories of him, kind of. So it's hard to tell exactly what this character is, and I think if you like him, which I mean, otherwise he's a super likable guy, it's hard to not be like, yeah, well, I mean, that was probably blown out of proportion. Bruce Lee was probably egging him on, or like some, you know, or like that happened the way he imagined, and he really is the victim. He's a very, it's a very fun movie to watch, especially because of the clothes, and I think Brad Pitt, like, he benefits from that so much. He's got he looks so comfy. He's got like he's got this fun Hawaiian shirt on. I don't know why, but it just, the way they styled his character made him seem really like likable and laid back and stuff, especially next to Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's the aging actor. It's just like looking at pictures of this movie, I'm like, God damn it, Cliff Booth's the coolest guy. Well, not that Rick Dalton was bad, but yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's like while while Rick Dalton's falling apart, it's like Brad Pitt's character's he's like so cool and smooth.
Yeah.
And this Hollywood actor like can't hack it, and he's still like genuinely great friends with the guy. Like there's so many interesting dynamics to play into.
But I also kind of feel like if, say, at the end of the movie, Rick Dalton just like fell off a cliff and died, Rick would be like, oh, damn it. And then he'd go back to his life. Like, he seems super detached from, like, everything. And it's just that Rick Dalton is so connected to Cliff in like a symbiotic or symbiotic. I don't know. He's just very dependent on Cliff because he's his, like, chauffeur and handyman and whatever he needs, that it's convenient for Cliff. And he's just like, yeah, okay, this is good. But he just seems like the most, like, roll off your back, whatever. This doesn't matter to me, but like, I'm cooler than this. He gets put in situations where he could do something stupid or bad, but he doesn't, and everyone is mean to him.
Yeah, and I think
so not his fault.
I think the one thing this movie does really well, because you get the whole sequence of him living in his trailer and the whole thing with him and his dog. Like, all of these characters. Well, the main characters so well by the end of this movie, and it's very helpful and effective, I think.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, we really only spend time with him and with Cliff and Rick Dalton. So by the end, you're like, and they're not like archetypes isn't the right word, but it is very easy to describe their characters, right? Where it says like Rick Dalton is an actor who's at the end of his rope, and like we see the first scene. Besides, there's a lot of like fake movies in this, which we'll touch on. But the first scene where they're just hanging out getting drinks, and you can kind of see stuff is wearing on Rick Dalton in a way that it's really not on Cliff Booth. And Rick Dalton sits down and he's stuttering and he's talking to the agent, Schwartz, and he's like, you're not cool. And it does a really good job of setting up these two characters, which is also like, this is a super character focused movie. There's very little plot. There's so little plot that about 2 hours into 2 hour 40-minute long movie, the movie like goes like, oh shit, we have no plot, and then it makes a plot. With like a big time jump too. It's like, and then 6 months later, the plot happened. But it's just like a day in the life of old Hollywood, which this romanticizes like crazy. I'm sure it's.
Oh yeah, Hollywood was the greatest thing ever. If you didn't know,
everyone was great. Everybody was talking about it. It was great. I didn't even realize. I just looked at it because I got the cast list up. This is a white little movie. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like Friends the movie.
Once upon a time in 1960s Hollywood.
Yeah. I kind of took that for granted just because I only focused on Leo and Brad Pitt as like the characters. Everyone else. Because there's a lot of like side characters that pop in and pop out, right? So you don't really spend a lot of time with, say, Emil Hirsch, who plays Jay Sebring, who's a guy who's really not that important to the plot. But looking at the cast list now, I'm like, oh yeah, right, he was in there. And like, oh yeah, that Timothy Olyphant, he was in there. But thinking back, I'm like, oh my god, yeah. You gotta really try to find a person of color in this movie, which you get down to Bruce Lee eventually, and then that's not great either. Although I have mixed feelings about the Bruce Lee scene, which we'll touch on.
Yeah.
What did you think about? So some people, plenty of people, complained or like weren't, at least one reporter, so maybe blowing this out of proportion, was not happy with the lack of Margot Robbie in the movie, or Robbie, I think is how you're supposed to say it.
Oh, is
I don't know. I listened to an interview the other day. It's not Robbie. It's not Robbie. It's like Margot Robbie. You know what I mean?
Oof.
You really don't.
I understand what you're
the
saying,
O.
but
Yeah.
I'm not going to fix it. Sorry to Margot Robbie.
Oh God, you're pissing her off so much. Again, they all listen to this, so that's you true. Really don't want to. We don't want to lose either Margot Robbie or her immediate family or Australian contingent. We have plenty of Australian listeners.
A lot of Australians
I'm a big fan
to the show.
I love Margot Robbie, and she seems fun and cool, and she's about as young as she's younger than I am, which makes me feel terrible.
You idiot.
That's the worst. I could be Harley Quinn if I really applied myself, but I'm not. But she could also be podcasting if she applied herself, and she's not. So different Pats. What'd you think of her?
Thought she was good. Yeah. I wish there was more of her, and I understood why she was there. I mean, we'll probably talk about this or whatever. But yeah, I thought she was good. So didn't get much to do. I don't know if it's like a complaint, because I don't know how much like she's quote unquote supposed to be a part of the story. But
right, and that's the hard part. Is like it's like you could do that with any other actor. where you're like, you could say like, yeah, Timothy Olyphant was in the movie as much as I would have liked. It just is because the marketing had her on the posters and then the trailers that I think people going into the movie are like, man, there should be more of her. And like, she's the only female character that gets more than 2 scenes. So I could see being upset that she's not in it more. But, and this is a product of kind of the movie having a very unspecific and like not unfocused narrative, but it's not easy to predict what you're going into, that it's so focused on Cliff and Rick that there's barely room for anybody else outside of these really quick, like, oh, hey, that's that guy. Okay, he's gone.
And
like,
also, the movie's not about anything.
Yeah, it's not.
Thing.
So it's about like themes and stuff, but not
about right. But what you said, there's no plot. So you're watching this, and then there's fun scenes. There's fun scenes with Margot Robbie, but like you were saying, it's hard to discern like exactly why we're supposed to care about anyone besides Cliff and Rick. So it's like, oh, it's nice to see these people on the screen, but whatever. Why do I care?
I mean, I saw them on stage. They did a Broadway play when I did it.
Once upon a time on Broadway. Go to that?
35 millimeter. It's just that good. It was so this movie. This movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, which it did kind of feel like it. Which is
there are parts when you're like, oh, this is kind of long.
Yeah, not great. What did you think of? So who is your favorite? Because there were a ton of like small parts. Did you have a favorite?
Of like the small.
Yeah, like people, like actors that popped in and out.
I don't. Honestly, because
I'll run through a couple.
Right.
You know what? We'll just do rapid fire. So like kind of, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but if you want to be like, oh, about that guy for the first time in the theater, and don't listen to this bit. All right. So like I said, you got Emile Hirsch. He plays that guy that lives next door. He's fine. He's barely in it. Timothy Olyphant plays James Spacey, who is the other cowboy in the first movie.
Yep.
I quite liked him. Oh, you know who's the best one? I would say, like, I guess there's like 2 breakout stars. Julia Butters plays Trudy, the little girl. It's terrific little. Yeah. I was so funny because there's really only 2 directions you could go with a child. Either you have a really good child actor, just really good at being a child, and kind of like Ant-Man's daughter in the first 2 Ant-Man movies.
Yeah.
Where you're like, that's a kid. Oh, nice. And like that, they don't feel like they're like a show kid. Kind of like, I would say, like, not the low bar for this, but like another version that I didn't love as much was the daughter in Captain Marvel, who I feel like felt more like a kid reading lines. But then you've got Julia Butters playing Trudy, a little kid who's on stage, or like an actor who works with Rick Dalton, who feels like an adult. And like it's so over the top how not a kid she is that I think it's very fun to watch, and like not, it's not annoying the same way these sometimes are.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I wholeheartedly agree.
All right, then you got Dakota Fanning as Squeaky Fromme. I want to say she was good.
Yeah, I don't know, it's bad. I'm struggling to remember a lot of these, to be honest.
Oh, really? She was the one in the house who was like, wasn't letting Cliff see the guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. Squeaky Fromme is the one who tried to kill, what's his name? The president, Gerald Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe. All right. You got Mike Moe as Bruce Lee. I think he was also very good. He was very funny. And I don't know enough about Bruce Lee, though, like in real life, to know what he was like. But his family seems to think this is a poor interpretation of his actual person he is.
Oh.
Yeah. I think like his daughter or granddaughter or something was not happy with it. However, I think you do have that level of abstraction there where that scene is a memory of Cliff's. Right? Yes. We don't see that scene in real time. It's like he's working on the roof and then he's like, oh, I remember that time when I got kicked out for being terrible. And like, he does seem like the kind of guy that could just blame Bruce Lee for him getting mad, trying to beat up Bruce Lee and being like in his head, like, no, he challenged me to a fight and I was just better than him. And he was being a big jerk to everybody. I know a couple others.
I guess real quick, the only thing against that is that it's not like it's so obvious that the Bruce Lee in his head is supposed to be some kind of caricature, and we see it as a flashback, but there's nothing obvious that it seems like it's totally tainted and not just a straight up flashback that Cliff is recalling on.
Oh yeah,
I guess you could argue.
I think if it wasn't a Tarantino movie, I wouldn't give it that space. Almost like not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, but the like he wants a lot of his stuff to be interpreted in different ways, and like perspective is frequently a part of his movies. Whereas like if this were like a, I don't know, a Christopher Nolan movie, I'd probably take it a little bit more at face value. And But yeah, because I mean, like, Quentin Tarantino must know what Bruce Lee was like. And like a lot of these other characters that are real people are kind of exaggerated versions of their former selves. But, you know, like Steve McQueen, played by Damian Lewis, just kind of a normal guy, you know, not being a big old jerk or weirdo. So I think there was a level of abstraction there when it came to that character. But he also is also like the funniest scene in the movie. So it's hard to not just enjoy at least Mike Moe's performance. I would love I know we kind of talked about back when this trailer was going and like really on everyone's minds before the movie came out. A lot of people wanted Mike Moe to be Shang-Chi, a master of martial arts. He is not.
Okay.
And he couldn't be because he played Triton in The Inhumans.
Look at that.
I'm sure it would be fine, but also
Bringing
this
it
poor
back.
guy. He thought, man, he had his big break, you know? It was finally going to be in a Marvel thing. And he was the worst-looking character in the worst thing they've ever made. Poor fella.
Unfortunate.
2 or 3 others here. We got Luke Perry as Wayne Maunder. So the other actor in this scene with Rick Dalton. Liked him a lot.
Okay, yeah.
Very sad that he is dead in real life.
Yeah, for real.
But
That's
good little last night note to go out on. Al Pacino as Marvin Schwartz. He's also fun.
He's all right.
Besides being in a gangster movie, this is pretty much exactly what I want from Al Pacino. Not dancing around with Dunkin' Donuts or whatever in that one Jack and Jill movie.
Oh, God. What movie was that?
I think it was Jack and Jill. It was one of those ones where, like, the one where they're all on vacation. It's one of those movies where Kevin James and Adam Sandler just want an excuse to hang out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like he was doing good acting. He had a characterization for his guy. It felt fun to watch and not sad. Besides them, I feel like that's mostly it. You get who's the one that Margaret Qualley, not sure who she is, plays Pussycat, one of the like kids. The hitchhiker.
Is she the one? She's the one who like Brad Pitt's like keeps picking up or whatever.
That's right. So she was in The Leftovers as the daughter. So that sounds about right. She was good.
Yeah,
they were all
I'd say
good.
so. Yeah.
Like I'd say, like the ones that I'd say are supposed to get most attention are Bruce Lee and the child actress, who are both very, very good. But like everybody else is putting in a solid performance. The girl from Stranger Things was there for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
the new one.
Yeah.
I really recognized her. Do you know she's Ethan Hawke's daughter?
Whoa, really?
I know. And
shit.
Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter.
Wait,
So,
really?
Yep, her name is Maya Hawke. So
Holy
Yeah.
shit. That's
I know.
crazy.
I know. She never brings it up. Never on the show she's on do people go, you know who you look like, Ethan Hawke.
Every party, she should be like, do you know who I am?
Yeah. I'm related to 2 actors that if you saw on the street, you'd be like, oh, yeah, him. 2 actors that I have a feeling are more popular in China than in America.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know who else is there? Kurt Russell. He was fun. He had a nice little part.
My boy Russell Crowe.
Stunt
Love
coordinator.
him.
That's right. Finally. I wonder where he's been this whole time. He's been doing this. He was fun. I don't know. There's a lot of famous people popping in and out. I want to say, what's her name was in there? The girl's girl, the main one.
I don't know.
Lena Dunham.
Was she?
I think she was one of the...
she one of the hippies?
She was. Yeah, I think so. Can't find her on IMDb. Some of the IMDb is like organized the way you'd expect, and some of it is not. But yeah. I don't know. What else is there to say about this movie besides spoilers, which is really just the end?
It's long.
It is long. It's pretty. They really got the old Hollywood
Oh
right.
yeah, and it's a movie that well, if anyone tries to make a period X-Men piece again, you can learn from this. This movie really looks like it's in the 70s or like late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Like you really
Apparently
get
they
that
did all
feel.
that in real life. Like they really dressed up Hollywood Boulevard to look like they made the Cinerama Dome and whatever in real life.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's nice. I think I saw an interview with Leo where he was talking about that. He was like, you know, I think they asked him some question like, what's it like working with Quentin Tarantino? And he was like, listen, man, they just don't make movies like this anymore where they spend $1 million to dress up a street. But this is cool. And besides all the other things that are interesting about this movie, it is nice that at least one movie is still doing that. It's too bad he may have retired and we'll never get it again.
I can't see that being a thing, by the way. I feel like he loves doing this shit too much, and his excuse is always like, well, if I do it for too long, then I might be really bad at it. And I don't want to be the part where they're like, oh, look at Quentin Tarantino, the guy making bad movies, and I don't think that's... I'm not worried about that, okay?
I think he's already made movies that are like he's good enough at it that I can't see him getting like worse. I can only see the world getting tired of him and like moving on from Quentin Tarantino.
Exactly. But I don't think that time is yet. Because, I'm sorry to cut you off, but he's still able to get, like, younger, relevant actors as part of his movie, and I think he carries, like, a very diverse audience. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and if this was another movie where a bunch of people with guns tried to rob a bank, I'd be like, all right, Quentin Tarantino, you may want to take a break. But he does kind of innovate and do things that are different enough that it doesn't feel as samey as you would expect. Obviously, there are the mainstays of people shooting each other and popping like balloons made of blood and women's feet and all that stuff. But besides that, it's very different from a lot of the rest of these, which is, I think, not necessarily how he stays relevant, but how he doesn't cool down.
Yeah. Which,
yeah.
I think, look, if he made 10 more movies, I'd be like, yes, keep going, do it. He's good at this, and and again, I haven't seen Jackie Brown or like whatever the other ones are that I can't think of, but I love all of his movies. I think they're all great. So
yeah, I mean, I'd definitely take him over most movies. Like,
yes.
I'm sure I'd probably rather watch Jackie Brown than Fast Hobbs and Shaw or whatever.
Hush your mouth.
Especially because. Yeah, like we've done this summer so many movies that are just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Dark Phoenix, Men in Black, yeah, they're movies. Godzilla, sure. Like, I think we could definitely have space for movies like this, and it's being taken up by movies like that. So
yeah, it's true.
I don't want him to make a Star Trek movie, but I kind of want to see what it would be if he did. So maybe he should. If anybody knows Quentin Tarantino, whisper to him at night, like while he's sleeping, to make that Star Trek movie. Really push Universal or whoever owns that, because it'd probably be bizarre.
Yeah, I think so.
One last question before we get into spoilers. So we did kind of talk about history and stuff associated with this movie. Percent, or like 1 to 10, how much history did you know? How many character names did you recognize as like, this is a real person that existed in that time? And
dude, like
none?
2 to 3. It's so low.
Steve McQueen?
So low. And you knew that one.
Squeaky Frome? No.
No.
Did you direct Assassins when we did it or something? No, you didn't direct it.
No.
She was one of them.
Okay.
Bruce Lee, probably yes.
Yeah, got that one.
Sharon Tate.
No.
Okay. And then the other one, Roman Polanski.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one.
And then the other one, who is the one that, I think, not like dead giveaway, but it's interesting how much the movie is about him and how little he's actually in it, is Charles Manson. Played by a guy that's going to play old Charles Manson in Mindhunters, apparently. Like,
cool.
Some casting director is just like, this guy looks like Charles Manson. I don't know. And they're making a million Charles Manson movies, so let's get him in all of them.
Why is
and he's
that?
in the movie for like 30 seconds. Because DJ Serial. I don't know. I think true crime is just the hottest thing now because of, it's probably not all because of Serial, but I kind of blame them.
I'm glad that nostalgia's coming back in a big way, I guess.
I mean, that nostalgia for Charles Manson and Roman Polanski, does it get any better than that? I think the word nostalgia means like disgusting thought or something, right? It's like a bad thing.
Right.
It's, let's see. It's translated literally to, like, I don't know. It's like, it means something in the thing it is. And it's not like it's bad, but it's also not like as positive as it gets credit for necessarily. Anyway, whatever it is, nostalgia's bad. Charles Manson is bad. Roman Polanski is bad.
Everyone's
I don't know
bad.
about Steve McQueen. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do you want to get into spoilers? Let's talk about the spoilers.
All right.
Would you, before we do that, should people see this movie?
Yeah, go see it. It's a blast. It's so good.
Yeah, it's very nice. It'll probably, I mean, I think it's going to win a ton of Oscars.
Oh my God. A movie about Hollywood and how cool Hollywood is? Yeah.
I know. Full of like A-list actors that everyone likes. And specifically the kind of time period in Hollywood and certain things that happened in Hollywood that I'm sure Hollywood people all take extra seriously. Like, yeah.
Very, very, very.
It's a no-brainer. I'd say the only shot is if New Mutants gets released, then it might give it a run for its money. Besides that, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood all the way down the ticket. All right, spoilers. So did you know at all who Sharon Tate was when the movie started?
No, not even a little bit.
So I knew she was connected to the Manson family murders. The first time we meet Charles Manson, he just shows up at the house, and he's turned away. And then we never see him again. As that happens, my brain was like, oh, wait, is Sharon Tate part of this? Not like, is she now, but will she become radicalized by Charles Manson? So I didn't know. I knew she was connected historically, and I know she died at some point, but I didn't know how. And I think that made me enjoy the movie more, because once things really kicked into gear, I kind of had a feeling of what had happened in real life, you know? Like,
right.
When Rick Dalton comes and yells at him and is like, hey, get out of my lawn, you kids. You're kind of like, oh, this is where this story would have gone, but now it's going in this direction, and everything from here on out is like fiction. I mean, it was all fiction, but it's like that revisionist history that Tarantino loves.
Because in this new fucking universe, Sharon Tate like lives and gives birth to her baby, and like Rick or Cliff like kills Charles Manson.
Does he?
Wait. Oh no. Sorry. Different hippies.
Yeah, they kill a bunch of them, but I mean, I would assume Charles Manson doesn't do super well after that, because Rick would recognize the hippies he killed and know where to check for them, like, so he would tell the police and they would get caught. And they didn't have cell phones then, so they wouldn't know that the police were coming, you know? Like, they would just be like, oh shit, police. I guess our guys lost they got just beaten up in a most Tarantino of fashions.
Oh, it was so Tarantino, my God.
So leading up to that, we have the scene where Cliff goes to what apparently is the Manson family, like, ranch. That scene was great.
Yes.
Did you think he was going to die?
Not at that point, no.
At all during the scene?
When he goes to the ranch?
Yeah, like when because there's the beginning where it's like there's somebody in this house that's gonna kill. That's kind of but then after he like his tires are popped and he's like making that guy clean up the tire, like fix the tire, and that one guy Tex is coming for him. I'm like, oh god, Cliff's gonna get killed right now. That's a bummer.
I think never crossed my mind. Funnily enough.
See, that's funny because that's I'd say when the Tarantino movie really took a left turn for me was like, because Tarantino movies love not just violence, but like violence as a consequence for bad decision making or whatever. So the idea that he like went too far and didn't listen and like nudged and nudged, just like, oh man, he's dead or he's getting tortured or something. But no, like everything worked out for him as well as it possibly could have. That guy changed his tire and he left right as the other guy was showing up and they couldn't do anything about it. Like that is just super unheard of for a Tarantino movie, right? Like imagine if Inglourious Bastards, they just ordered those beers and Michael Fassbender didn't do the Germany, like he did the three fingers correctly and they accomplished their mission and left. Like, but it just doesn't feel Tarantino, which is part of why I think it's interesting.
I guess in this sense, though, it felt because there were so few characters, right? Like, you couldn't have killed Cliff this early because there was still a lot of movie left and we were so invested. I don't know. I always felt like up until the very end of the movie, oh, Cliff and Rick are totally safe because they're all we have. It is a different Tarantino movie that you really only have two characters. I guess you could say that about Pulp Fiction in terms of where you just have Jules and the other guy.
I don't remember his name. Vincent Vega, right?
Yeah. So you get them and that's it. So
yeah. I mean,
so I never felt like there was ever going to be like a problem.
Well, okay. So when that started, did you get a sense for like where things were going? Did you pick up on that a Charles Manson related murder might happen later in the movie?
No, honestly, no.
No, okay.
Man, it's just I don't know what to chalk it up to, but it's just like a lot of those things never really entered my like, oh, or like maybe these things will start happening. It just never. I never made the Charles Manson connection during the movie. And that's why I said afterwards, like, I felt kind of stupid. I'm like, because I'm reading, I'm like, fuck, how did I not pick this up while I was watching? But it just didn't, I just wasn't in that mindset. So it never really occurred to me. So
interesting.
I don't know. I don't know whether to blame the movie or my lack of knowledge on such things. Because is there any
definitely blame the movie. We'll call Tarantino right now and tell him he did a bad job.
Well, at what point is it like, yes, that's Charles Manson? Like, is there any point in the movie where there's that kind of revelation?
I think so. I think it's not just like that's Charles Manson. It's like, I know, like the movie stops being about all the Hollywood stuff and kind of starts being about like, how is Charles Manson retaliation to this going to go? Are they going to retaliate to Cliff? Which the answer is no. They don't go get Cliff or anything like that and try to like stop their secrets. He just accidentally ends up being in the house that they go to after that.
Yeah, they pass him. He's like walking his dog and they pass him in a car and it's like they don't stop him like, hey, you're that guy.
Yeah, which is interesting. But
Yeah, I mean, but at no point do they ever mention that he's Charles Manson in the movie? Did I just totally miss that?
I think he introduces himself, right?
I feel like I would have caught that. That's why. Well, maybe it is on me that I just totally missed that. But I'm like, I thought I was paying like pretty good attention. Like
I thought when he goes to the house, he introduces himself as like Charles Manson.
Oh.
When he goes to the house in the beginning, when he meets Roman Polanski's friend or whatever.
Then that's definitely my bad. I'm missing that. And
I could be wrong.
daisy.
Yeah. Tweet if you what it was at nitpicking pod on Twitter. Let's see.
But so actually getting to that though, there were people who left very similar comments to a lot of the stuff like, what was in our Twitter, like, what was the point of the Sharon Tate story? Why was this here? So I don't think that was like just lost on me. I don't know.
Oh no, yeah, I think it's and it's funny because there is that show, the Mindhunter show, which is probably going to feature Charles Manson, probably not super heavily, but it will be part of it this next season. I think if this came out in reverse, this would be much more of a thing that people are aware of.
Right.
Like, I know a lot of people that know everything about that. And, like, people that just enjoy history and stuff like that. But, yeah, it's interesting how much, not like your knowledge of it, like your enjoyment of it relied upon that, but how much of a different movie some people got than others. But it does feel like a Marvel movie where, like, I know, that Bill Foster was Goliath in a previous movie probably or something, and like
right.
The rest of the world doesn't know that, so I'm just kind of getting a different movie. Or like trying to think of a good example of this in Marvel movie terms. What's a Marvel movie where I know Bucky's the Winter Soldier, so like all this Winter Soldier mystery, I'm waiting going like he's gonna get revealed to be the Winter Soldier, and then he is, and then we're all on the same page.
Right. True.
What did you think of? So the Manson children, 4 Manson children or people or whatever they're called, go to kill Sharon Tate. That's the plan.
Yes.
And that's where history happened. And then because they were making enough noise to piss off Rick Dalton.
Yep.
Rick Dalton goes in and yells at them. And I think it's so funny that they did not shoot him or anything. They were just like, oh, crap.
Yeah,
I guess not. Go home.
Were they worried that, like, we'll get found out, we'll be had?
I guess, but, like, did they not think they would be had post-murder? Like...
Okay, yeah.
I just don't... I don't know enough about the murder. I'm assuming those people all got caught at some point because we know who they are. But, like... I mean, and I understand why they didn't just plain old shoot him, because then you would attract the attention of everyone. But it's just funny to me how, like that's another point, like, kind of what happened to Cliff, where you're like, oh, shit, he's going to get killed. This is going to be an unceremonious death for a main character. Classic Quentin Tarantino, like, let's go. And then, nope, he's fine. He's a jerk to them, kind of, and then they leave. But then DJ, what happens?
Fucking Cliff's got a dog there that fucking just
Oh, wait, no, before
people.
that, when they leave, and then they, like, decide to not leave, though, right? So they turn around and they're like, we're not going to do anything. Shoot, we'll go home and have said we left. And then that one girl, I forget her name, is like, oh, wait a second. What if we kill Hollywood stars? Because Hollywood is violent and bad. And like, then I'd say, and this is why all the violence at the end of the movie, I'd say, you can almost give Tarantino a pass on. Because besides the fact that they're bad guys, the movie then becomes about violence in Hollywood, kind of, So it's all meta and stuff.
Which is kind of funny.
So then they train their sights on Rick Dalton. And then pick up from there.
And then Cliff, is there in the house, high after taking his acid-dipped cigarette. Okay. And he's got a dog. And the dog fucks these hippies up. Fucks them up bad.
God. And, yeah. Well, not just the dog, too. He really messes up.
Ruins these people. Oh, my God.
And it's interesting because there's, like, it's not like a bad movie. Or not like, obviously it's not a bad movie. It's not that your reaction to it as, like, I don't think you can have the wrong reaction to it because it is so, like, complicated in terms of just, like, because he's killing these people, right? At that point in the movie, they haven't killed anybody yet, right? They just had a really bad idea.
But you know that they're going to.
Right.
Right.
So
They've
they
been
go
painted as the bad guys, broad brush.
They've also been painted as, like, kind of incompetent dummies. So I feel like having seen the beginning with them, you're kind of like, you could have talked them out of this. Like, not really, but you didn't have to kill all of them, right? Like, especially at points when some of them are like shot and stabbed and drowning and about to die, and then you do even more deaths to them. Although then I guess you're like, might as well just let him die anyway. But so then, and this is where it really goes off the rails. Cliff just takes one of the girls, and just bashes her head into everything in the room. Just so like every hard surface. And again, you're kind of like, well, these guys are bad, but also you're like, well, but I mean, they didn't do anything yet. But also you're like, I think you got him, Cliff. I think they're good. And then you're like, but is this Tarantino trying to show me how bad Hollywood is? And like,
yeah,
is this the Hollywood that they envisioned in their minds? And then is Cliff just a bad guy? Like, am I bad for not like agreeing with him, but being on his side for this?
Nah,
I don't know.
It's fine. Nah.
That's why it's interesting, because I don't think you can be the bad guy for being on that side of it. But I do think like, it makes you think about that kind of stuff, which was cool.
Yeah. The movie makes you think, which is I didn't get this is bad. I didn't get that far in the proceedings. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But that's your whole that was my reaction. I just thought,
yeah, no, I mean, I care about not killing people. I get that. We're not the same,
There's a ponderous point to it though. It's like, oh, this is way too much. Why are you doing this? So yeah, absolutely.
And then it's interesting because it really is that one girl who gets everything, like she gets the whole thing
destroyed.
Yeah, she because she gets hit a lot. I want to say stabbed. She gets dogged as well. Once the dog is done with the main guy, it goes and gets one. I think it's Tex. Once the dog is done with Tex, it goes for her. And I think this is also the character who had the idea to go back and get him. So you could say she is the most like responsible for all of it.
Yeah.
Then she, all super dead and messed up, falls into the pool where Rick Dalton has just been hanging out. And then he goes and gets a flamethrower from earlier in the movie and just burns her to death in a pool. It's insane.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. It's cool, kind of.
It is cool. It's super cool.
Like, I think if I knew more about the Manson murders, I would definitely have a better, I would have more of a, get them. These are bad guys, I've heard they did a terrible thing.
But yeah, I agree. You're not supposed to feel a certain way, but, feeling that way is like, oh, yeah, this is justice or whatever.
Yeah.
This is bounty law.
It's bounty law. Rick Booth, or Cliff Dalton is bounty law. He's I loved all those little stories we watched or shows we watched. I do think someone pointed out the only one that wasn't great was The Great Escape, where he just they put him over Steve McQueen, because that did look a little strange.
Okay. Yeah.
And Sharon Tate in her movie wasn't Margot Robbie. She was
right.
Sharon Tate, so little interesting. But again, that's just also his his fantasy. So that's what I give the fantasies a little bit more creative discretion, even if they don't work completely right. The flamethrower bit, speaking of spoilers in Tarantino movies, kind of is part of confirmation of the Tarantino expanded universe.
How?
Well, that's from a movie he made, which seems to be a movie about the events of Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, okay.
But that's I love that even though Inglourious Basterds was mostly orchestrated by whatever that actress, or not actress, the theater owner's name is. I forget that actress's name.
Yeah,
right.
The
bastards are there, and they Aldo Raines shoots people and whatever, but they all would have burned to death without him, right? And they get no credit. She gets no credit. It's all this cool hotshot American guy goes up with a flamethrower and just burns all the Nazis to death because he's good, cool American guy. We've I don't know, whitewashed isn't the word, but we've completely sanded that historical event in this universe down to the point where it's just, nothing, which is fun.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, so that means, Inglourious Basterds is real. So, there's a couple of connections there. Vincent Vega is supposed to be related to somebody in I want to say, one of the Vega brothers. There's a Vega character in Django somewhere. He's supposed to be a great grandfather of Vincent Vega from Reservoir Dogs. And then the idea is that all of Quentin Tarantino's movies are this ridiculous, hyper-violent history, because the further back in history you go, the more problems were solved with hyper-violence. So in this movie, we see of course everybody's killing everybody and it's fine because we just killed Hitler with hyperviolence to win the war. So this is just like another extension of that, which is why I don't mind period kind of hopping from time period to time period. It's because it does, I don't know, it does feel interesting.
Oh, man. And then we do Star Trek. That's the ultimate culmination of the Tarantino-verse.
And that would just be
hyper-violence in the future.
Complete hyper-violence. Like, just like ultimate death. Everyone's about to die, you know. It'd be so great. I don't know who's the most deadly character in Star Trek, but I have a feeling it's like one of the robots or Worf or something. Although those are the Next Generation or whatever. But like, there's some characters in Star Trek that could rip your head off if they wanted to. Although, you know, we don't know which Star Trek he would be doing. Let's see, what else? So let's say he doesn't do Star Trek. Is there another time period you'd want to see Tarantino? Or like another kind of story you'd want to see Tarantino do?
Oh, God, like medieval? I want to see him do like a fucking King Arthur. No, I'm serious, man. Can you imagine what he could do with like swords and horses and like all that?
That would be fun.
Yeah, like I feel like that'd be amazing. Or
people,
I was gonna say he could do a Jesus movie. He could do
that would
it.
Be crazy.
He gets to do the Jesus movie.
People have suggested that he was going to do a sequel to Kill Bill at some point. Have you ever heard this?
No. Well, wait, like besides Volume 2, because he did.
Right. Yeah, a threequel.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some sort of. I don't know the names of any of these people, but the first character. I think Vivica A. Fox's character, who is killed in the beginning of 2, like in her house in front of her child. This movie was going to take place kind of real time 20 years later, which is around where we are now. And it's that girl getting revenge on the bride. Yeah.
Oh.
So that could be a movie. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like... It feels like that. That feels like the thing that you would give Robert Rodriguez to do. But it's like clearly his vision was this is one movie, right? Like Kill Bill 1 and 2 are a whole thing. So...
Yeah.
He doesn't make sequels just to make them. Although, like, I don't like sequels that are 2 movies, but it's really 1 movie. Give me 1 movie, please. I'll take a 5-hour-long movie if you want, Quentin, but you can charge me a double price, but I don't like this. Like, this was actually 2 movies the whole time, guys.
I mean, this feels like 5 hours at one point, so...
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. It's just at some point you're like, where is this going? Where are we headed?
I'm trying to think of, like, I like as much as I enjoy like people bashing each other's heads in a war or something, I do enjoy a nice martial arts movie, and Kill Bill is that, but I would always be happy with him doing another one of those. Like you could do like almost like that Mulan movie, but like some version of that's Tarantino-y would be fun, where it's like you were saying, like swords and horseback, but also karate or, you know, kung fu or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Trying to think of like another, like not like generation, but like genre that would be interesting to see done by Tarantino.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Because he's done modern, he's done western. Like
he's done blaxploitation, kind of whatever Jackie Brown is.
Buddy
like
Cop is Pulp Fiction.
Has he done like a horror movie?
I don't think so. I don't know his like whole portfolio super well, but yeah.
You know what I'd like to see him do? Let me think if he ever done this. A spy movie. Not like James Bond, but a James Bond kind of movie. That could be fun.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think that genre is pretty rife with parody, like material. Or not even parody, but like, what's the word? Like pastiche. Right? I think that's what that word means.
That's a $10 word if I've ever heard one.
Let me Google it. Pastiche, an artistic work in the style that imitates that of another work, artist, or period. So it's like, not like a copy, but it's also not, it's a parody, except it takes it seriously-ish. But yeah, so I'd like to see that. It's kind of like how, like, I mean, this isn't it, but how like Hawkeye is a Green Arrow pastiche or something like that. You know what it is? It's when you make like The Tick and then you fill out that universe with the Justice League. They are, unless they're straight up parodies where it's like, what if Superman? But he was dumb. If they're kind of the same thing, then that's a pastiche.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I would. Great word. That's a pretty good word. I wouldn't mind. And the word parody and satire get thrown around all the time, and this is usually the word. I would love to see a spy movie. In the you know what you could do too, you could do in the style of like a 70s like Roger Moore James Bond movie where everyone is actually dressed like Austin Powers in real life, like unironically, and just make that movie, because you could be violent, but there's also a fun style there that I think would be fun. And they have those movies are known for their great moments where 2 characters sit across a table or a buzzsaw or whatever and just talk, and that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
that
dope.
would be good.
Tarantino, get on that. Get the next Kingsman movie going, please.
Oh man, that's what we need to give him. We need to give him like a bloated franchise, and not that
Yeah.
that's what that is, but like to see, like you said, he could fuck around in the universe. Oh,
I mean,
yeah, let's give him a TV show.
I would
Can we
love
do
to see
that?
him do Transformers or some shit. Like,
Oh, that
I
would
don't
be
know
cool.
what he
Or
likes.
Batman,
Like, what?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Star Trek apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I imagine that's what he's kind of. Whenever a character or whenever a director's like, I want to do this movie, I always imagine that that comes from some interview where someone was like, hey, you like Star Trek, right? And he's like, yep. And they're like, you ever want to make a Star
Yeah.
Trek movie? And he's like, I don't know. And then everyone's like, he's confirmed Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie. So who knows if he actually wants to do that? But at least that does seem like something he's interested in as a human being. I mean, it seems like what he loves is this, like old Hollywood nonsense, which he's great at.
Maybe
So.
maybe he wants to vaporize people or like visualize. Like, could you imagine like a super graphic fucking Star Trek? Like, how sick would that be?
It would be really good. And yeah, I think it'd be fun. And that's another thing where people just sitting around is interesting. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for Quentin. Fun.
We figured it out.
A good, nice movie we all like. Let's get that out of our system. Because next week is going to be something very different.
Nando.
I'm not even saying it's bad, but it's
We'll
different
save it for
than
next
this.
week.
Yeah. All right, DJ, do you want to get to our classic segment? Do you want to recommend some things?
I would
Anything
love
else
to get
about
to it.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I got nothing else for the folks.
Maybe you don't need
It's
those
good, go
ellipses,
see it.
Quentin. Get rid of them. Just call it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is that from something, by the way?
Oh, I do not know.
Besides just Once Upon a Time as being a like thing that movies have, or like
Yeah,
that
like
that
a
start
Cheeky
stories.
thing. Did he think he was
Yeah.
being clever with that?
Oh, for sure.
I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So once upon a time.
Should have started like that. I don't think it did. That would have been fun.
It would have.
All right. Yeah, let's wreck some things. What do you got, DJ?
All right, so couple recs. This week in things that DJ's going to recommend that are really old, and Nando probably recommended them forever ago. Daredevil season 3.
That's right.
Yeah, I called Nando while I was watching it. I was on travel. We recorded this last week's episode pretty early because last week I was on travel, and oh my god, it's so good. I binged it in like a few days. It was I loved it so much. And I talked to a lot of people, or a handful of people, my small circle sample size as it were. Not a lot of people have seen it, but have seen the other shows, but they're like, oh, I heard it was being done, so I don't know if I wanted to even bother, blah blah. So yeah, definitely watch it. Definitely watch it. It's so good.
It really is great. And I'm so happy that it's the end, kind of, with that one, because I'm like, that's a great place to leave that show.
It's a
Like-
very solid and satisfying ending.
It tries to like leave one door open that I think I don't need open. Like, I'd be fine if in the next season they dealt with the thing that they kind of are planning to do. But yeah, no, I think it's like so perfect.
Yeah,
it was
for sure.
Without like spoiling it, did you have like a favorite part or character or thing? It was definitely that one cop, right? Who just had that look on his face like, oh no, the whole season. He was wonderful.
No.
Oh, man.
I actually thought Foggy had a very strong season. Like it was.
Foggy.
He did. I thought he had an incredibly strong season.
He's good. I think it's definitely his best season. They do that thing where they like to stretch the limits of like what I can believe. Usually it's in court, but this one it's in like debates and like his like campaign speeches where he'd just get up and be like, I think the people need to listen to this. Like, I'm like, dude, you can't do it. Like, they don't let you. But
Yeah, right.
But I definitely liked him more than I liked him last season. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was really good. So
Yeah.
so that's my really old rec. A more recent rec is that I watched Murder Mystery on Netflix. I
Oh,
liked it.
yeah.
I honestly didn't think it was that bad.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun. Watch.
What's the pitch?
If you like the more simpler, non-controversial Adam Sandler movies that are very low concept but a lot of fun. So your Chuck and Larry, your Mr. Deeds.
Basically, you're talking the ones where you can't make a podcast out of just watching them every day because they become torture immediately.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
those kinds. Okay,
exactly. Then it's enjoyable. And Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston actually have really good chemistry in this movie, like surprisingly good chemistry, and they make the movie a lot of fun. So it becomes a very enjoyable experience as opposed to maybe something more laborious and like, oh, why am I watching this? And it's quick and it's fun, and yeah, it's just a light, nice little movie to watch. So, and it's on Netflix. That's like my biggest pitch is that you got like you want to check them out on Netflix. I'll watch that. Don't watch the weird Chris Evans "we're smuggling people out of Ethiopia" thing.
Or The Irishman, which we just saw a trailer for.
Or that
where it's like, what if all the old guys weren't old anymore? This one, well, okay, so didn't Jennifer Aniston and Adam? They've done a movie before, right? We know they have. Like didn't they do one where it was like. Yeah, I want to say it was such an Adam Sandler-y pitch where it was like he likes a hot girl, but he has to trick the hot girl into thinking he's married to an old crone like Jennifer Aniston. And then as the movie progresses, it turns out Jennifer Aniston's actually a hot girl. Like it's pure Sandler. I want to say it was like...
Oh, Just Go With It?
That's it, yeah. Who's the like actress who's a model and probably not an actress anymore? I'm assuming she's like third billed in this.
Cast.
Whoever that is.
Is it Bailey Madison? No, that's definitely not her.
Maybe. Oh no.
No, it's not.
I mean, I have not seen this movie, although I'm not too good for this movie. I watched some dumb Adam Sandler
Brooklyn
movies.
Decker.
That's
Brooklyn Decker.
Yep. So yeah.
Wow, she's 32 and she looks like she's fucking 70.
Brooklyn Decker or Jennifer Aniston? I mean, in an Adam Sandler movie, none of the women are attractive enough for Adam Sandler. That hot stud. You remember him in that Mess with the Zohan movie?
Yes.
I love that movie. I think that movie
too.
is a funny movie. And
do too.
They tried as hard as they've ever tried to make him the cool, like, romantic lead that's flirting with everybody. And it is so almost like embarrassing, but not really, because I think he's in on it. But it's so funny how, like, him and Emmanuel Chikri are just like, it's the most ludicrous relationship I've seen in a movie in a very long time. But yeah, I love, although he did Ridiculous Six, which is his like Hateful Eight, like Magnificent Seven parody. And like, so he's on a roll. But I will watch this movie because I've heard this from a couple of people.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth your time.
Not the Brooklyn Decker one, this one. Murder Mystery.
Yeah, Murder Mystery.
And it's got, what's his name? Shaw himself, the original Shaw, Luke Evans.
Yes.
As a character named Charles Cavendish. What a name.
It's fun. He's great. He's got a great character. It's very fun.
I like him a lot. If it wasn't for that, the Beauty and the Beast is like, if it wasn't for that it's bad that they're remaking all of those, I have a feeling I'd really enjoy his guest on, but I refuse to watch it.
He's legit like good in this movie. It's which I should. It's not. I don't think it's a surprising thing. It's just it's really fun. So
well, I think he's very frequently not like better than the work he's given, but like how good can you be in the villain of a Fast and Furious movie? Like, you don't really get as much chance to flex your muscles and have fun. You just have to talk about family and stuff. So, and that's mostly what I know him for. I'm sure he's from things, right? Luke Evans, he's had an illustrious career. He was in Murder Mystery. He was in one of the Fast movies and then the one right after that, but it was a surprise. It was a very, very fun surprise. He was in Beauty and the Beast. He was in The Hobbit. Yeah, not really good in those either. He frequently, he really needs to find, he needs something. I want to say he needs a big break, but he's had several breaks. Just these movies he's in, like Dracula Untold, The Immortals, The Raven, a Robin Hood from 2010, which I did not see. I want him to do something good. Please, Luke Evans.
You're better than this.
You are better than this. And you need something like this to really, get people on your side. Yeah. So you recommend Just Go With It with Brooklyn Decker.
No, do not watch that movie. And then the last thing real quick I'll recommend is, as I mentioned, I saw Iron Maiden. The band that opened for them is this metal band called the Raven Age, really good metal band. If you're into metal, check them out. They were a great opener, and I've been listening to them. I like them a lot. So those are all my recs, and I have one that I'm saving for next week. Not because it's not ready, it's just because we're recording it pretty soon because I'm going on travel again. So I need to save something for then.
I bet I know what it is. Does it rhyme with Smatchular?
It's not actually,
okay.
But holy shit! I won't get into it. But no,
Okay.
it's a little tease. It's a video game that I said on one of the live streams we did was one of my favorite video game franchises.
Oh, okay. Just
like
go with it. The video game.
Love that series.
Back when
nothing
they made
better.
tie-ins to Adam Sandler video games, those were the best. Cool. I'm gonna wreck. So I would continue. I would wreck again Schitt's Creek, but I've already wrecked it. But I just want to give a completely ringing endorsement. Season 2 is as good as, if not better than season 1. It's the funniest show on television. I absolutely love it. For this, and I think you can definitely, it's not super connected, but so next week we're doing Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. In preparation for that, I watched some clips of some of the Fast movies just to kind of be like, oh, what's going on with these? I also watched Too Fast, Too Furious again. That movie is horrible and amazing. It is. How long has it been since you've seen Fast 2? Too Fast, Too Furious, Too Fast for Y'all. It's the one that introduces Tej and Roman and
long time.
It is just and I thought the new ones were bad. At every scene, a camera would follow some girl's butt. This is so much worse. And it's funny, what I hadn't realized is how much, and I as a fast, and since this doesn't come up in the new one, I don't feel bad saving it. How much Roman's character has evolved over the course of these movies, from serious guy who doesn't take shit from nobody to complete clown. And it's just so much fun to watch a movie, this first one of his, where he's just yo, you're not, I'm not working with you, Brian. You're a jerk, and I'm cool and tough and whatever. Because he's got such a wonderful arc over the course of these. So I feel kind of confident recommending that. Although, it's also not really a thing to recommend. It's not a new thing. Any new fun media. I wanted to pull up Netflix for a second just so I could get this completely right. Because I have spent most of my time on Schitt's Creek because I enjoy it so much. But the new season of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee is back. So.
Oh, yeah. Eddie Murphy's one of them, right?
I have not gotten to that one.
Okay.
But mostly because I'm going through old ones. So it's not as much a recommendation as more of just a hey, Netflix doesn't always tell you what's on and what's not on. So just so everybody knows, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Really, we wrecked 3 Netflix things. That's weird.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm having this struggle with Netflix where I'm really enjoying the content when I see it. It's very good. On the other hand, goddamn, it's expensive. I'm is it really worth it?
See, when Witcher shows up, I feel like that'll be
God, that is
a heavy justification.
Yeah, for sure.
And future seasons of Umbrella Academy, there's enough good stuff there for me and the Miller World stuff, although I haven't really even started making that, but there's enough in there that I think Netflix will stick around. So it'll be Disney Plus, Netflix, and I don't know, the Quentin Tarantino specific streaming service that will exist in 3 years.
Oh, so excited for that.
If
he announces that, I'm buying it day one.
That'd be so great.
Day one.
So next week, what are we doing, DJ? I've mentioned it multiple times in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
The fastest and the furiousest.
Yeah. Least fast, last furious. Technically, there are cars in this movie. We're watching, we're going to be watching CIA 2, or Central Intelligence 2, where The Rock is hanging out with the guy from The Meg instead. Because I realized this going past, thinking about, because I saw it the other day, and oh boy, Jason Statham and The Rock specifically just played the exact same character in every movie they're in. So what you imagine this movie will be like, if you've seen The Meg and Rampage or Skyscraper or any of that, it's that. It's exactly that. The only X factor is Idris Elba and what's her name, the actress that plays Vanessa Kirby, who's the third member of the squad. But yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Oh, one more quick rec before
Yeah.
I forget. I read the first issue of, I think it's called House of X, the new Jonathan Hickman X-Men comic run that's getting all kinds of attention. It's very interesting. I just picked up Powers of X, or whatever the second one is, because they have this weird naming title where they're doing, I think, 12 of them. The first one is House of X1. Second one is Powers of X1. Third one is House of X2. Fourth one is Powers of X2. So I forget which one came first, but it's very interesting. If you're an X-Men fan, I highly recommend it just because it's going somewhere interesting, probably.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all I got. Next week, Hobbs and Shaw. Or Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Why is that the thing? That's stupid.
I don't know.
Sorry, not to totally disparage it, but it's stupid.
It is stupid because, or no, it's not stupid, kind of, because it's like, well, if I didn't know this was a Fast and Furious movie, I wouldn't know this is a Fast and Furious movie. Like,
right.
There's very little that's special about it. There are cars, but they're not nearly as much as a focal point as they traditionally are. So, thinking back, I think you really need it, especially because Hobbs isn't. He's a main character, but he's not that much of a main character.
Right.
It's not like you could spin off a Black Widow movie and everybody knows who you're talking about. Like, Hobbs it's all tricky.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, they should do it. They should spin off a Black Widow and Hobbs movie. Probably better than... Listen, we'll talk about it next week. Get excited, people. But yeah, so until next week, I am at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Woo.